Hey guys, welcome back to the Dimension Magic Games YouTube channel. We're here today to talk about the anniversary box that's coming out next month. I'm joined again today by Jamaal
What's up, guys? How you doing?
and Andrew.
Hey, my baby.
So, four of us here to discuss the anniversary box reveals that have finally come out today. The Facebook group has been up in arms all week waiting for the reveals, and they have finally been shown. So, quickly,
all at once, all by accident.
all at once, yeah. The Friday news dump. So I'm going to go through quickly and just talk about what you get when you purchase the anniversary box, and then we're going to discuss amongst ourselves what support we're looking forward to, which leaders look cool, all that type of stuff. So when you get the box, there's a set of 7 new SLRs for past leaders. There's a set of sleeves. You get 1 of the 4 sleeves shown here. There's a set of energy markers, which there are 5 total choices, which you get 1 of at random. You also have the opportunity to pull a high rarity Goku Gohan energy marker. There's a set of support cards. There's 40 new support cards in the set. You get 2 of each of those. So if you want to play set, you have to buy 2 boxes. The SCR reprint they're giving us this time is Piccolo Gohan. So that's a neat one. And then you will get a set of 20 reprints. This brick of 20 cards only has 1 copy per card. So if you want a play set of the reprints, you actually have to buy 4 anniversary boxes or trade with your friends. But so quickly, we'll just go through the 7 SLRs. And some of these were also being sold on Mercari a few months ago, conveniently, somehow. But we've got the green Majin Vegeta. We've got the SS2 Trunks, the blue Future Trunks. We've got the Unison Cooler in green. We've got Armless Gohan there in yellow. Red U7 Goku. Black Gogeta Zeno. And then we've got the red Android 1718 deck that came out the same set as Gohan's. So, Jamaal, any of these leader arts stand out to you? Are you super excited to get one of these SLRs?
Honestly, I think the coldest looking one is ironically the Trunks reboot leader. Just with the sword and the way it looks. I mean, the Majin Vegeta one looks cool. It's just not my style of deck. But if we're just talking from a visual standpoint, I think the reboot Trunks looks cold. And I'm sure like a lot of these will look a lot better foil rather than
in person.
Yeah.
When you're actually looking at them, they're gonna look good. But
the twins, right? The twins one looks like it could be pretty fire with the foiling, the right foiling behind that as well. So.
Andrew, any of these stand out to you?
I mean, they're all good choices. I feel like. I mean, for art wise, they're all pretty much the same. And I don't know, like Jamaal said, we'll have to see it in person to really be in awe. Sorry. Something I thought of though for the deck profile of Gohan, harmless because he's armless? ? That'll be your clickbait title.
We're trying to improve the title, so I'll take that
We'll
into
see.
consideration. We tried our best with the Fusion World ban list, so we're doing what we can. So here's the sleeves, real quick. You get one of those. I'm surprised. Usually they put a female character in there for a certain
waifu lovers.
That
I think it's called Men of Culture, but I don't call them that.
Waifu lovers.
None of those. The energy markers here again, 1 of 5 that you can get, and they have a high rarity one. So hopefully, if you pull that, that's worth some money. And then they've got the Piccolo Gohan SCR reprint. Andrew, what do you think about this being the reprint that they went for here?
I feel like they couldn't have picked a better one, honestly. I think a lot of people probably wanted Gogeta because that's probably the most expensive meta one right now, but I feel like that would also make some people upset. This is the world champions, in his deck, and it just recently had a huge price spike, so the timing of this is quite perfect.
I think the other thing too is that at the time that they got their data to pick the SCR for these boxes, right? This was like the most highly played SCR. So it made sense. And it was also still hard to get back then as well, right? Because it was fresh. And I think that's probably why they ultimately chose them. Like Gogeta's fairly new, right? So they're not looking at that. They do these surveys for a reason. And that's kind of where all this anniversary box stuff comes from, is actually based off the surveys that some of us ignore in the community and then get mad if our deck doesn't get support. Well, then do the surveys. So
Yeah, there are a couple of good choices. I think they could have went with this one. I don't think anyone can really complain. This is a great meta choice. I think Evil Saiyan is probably the most represented SCR in the game right now, with Red Vegeta playing it plus all the black decks. We'll see if that remains that way with the ban list coming up, and if they're still going to have access to black energy. But yeah, this is a good one. Beast Gohan could have been in there.
yes,
Couple
they
of the
probably
expensive
knew
ones.
they probably didn't do Beast because they knew the cereal, right? All that,
Yeah,
all
it already
that's
just got
planned
one.
out. So they were like, well, you'll get your reprint, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Much
And
easier
this is
to
older than
attain.
Evil Saiyan, right?
Right.
So maybe Evil Saiyan next year's Andy.
That makes
Calling
sense.
it now.
Or Gogeta-san.
Or Gogeta.
Or not
Yeah.
Gogeta, the Gogeta A-drop, yeah. Yellow.
All right. So you get a set of 20 reprints also in the anniversary box. Only one copy per reprint here, which is kind of a bummer. It'd be nice if it was two. So typically everyone buys 2 anniversary boxes. There are some. There's a mix here, I think, of old cards that support relevant decks that are coming out in the anniversary box. There's a couple of promos that are kind of hard to get. Jamaal, do any of these stand out to you as like the one that people are going to be after?
Oh, for sure. Combo attack. The Vegeta and Goku. That card's already a pretty penny. I think that's a card that people have been who just love black in general, or even play Red Vegeta, right? They want that card. I think that's probably the best reprint in here. What is cool though is that there's reprints for cards that are part of the anniversary box new leaders, like this 8-drop Trunks and the 8-drop Goku Mastery, even the Frieza Unison for the Cooler deck. So it's saying like, hey, we understand that a lot of this is old product, and maybe you can't get it. So here's a way to at least get access to kind of what these decks are building around, right? I think the trend here is that all of these cards most of these cards facilitate what some of these new leaders or new cards do for their deck. So.
Yeah, every single SLR has a card for that archetype in this reprint.
Correct.
So that is 100% correct.
And the combo
then
attack's a surprise, right? Because that could have easily been a Gogeta, right, thwarting or something. And they said, no, we understand. You probably need this card to play the deck. So
thwarting again.
imagine another thwarting reprint. Yeah.
No, that was a great pick. Save some wallets for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, and even some other under the radar ones like the Goku Black, which has some support in this box. That's a promo that if you played in the regionals, you have, and if you didn't, you're not going to have. And now with these reveals, they'll be expensive. So I think that's a good one. It just makes it easier to not have to hunt down all of these random SRs that you want to play with. So
the Vegeta too, the red Vegeta, and I think the blue SS3 Vegito. I think those are also tournament promos that are.
Correct.
I don't know about the Vegito, but I know the Vegeta is at least not like super cheap. So
the competitive Saiyan is a nice one, and like you said, the Goku Black. I think Vegito's not a regional TP. I think
Vegeta was a store
TP.
Yeah, store TP.
Oh, store TP. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
But
we
they're
can cut
popular
that
right
out.
now. No, we don't. We'll edit it in post, right? No, there's a demand for that card with Blue Bojack doing so well. I think that's featured in a lot of those lists. So it's a good one. If you don't have them, it's nice.
The best one is combo attack, right? Just that card is hard to find. It's impossible to get unless you find it in the secondary market at a premium. And I mean, it's going to be a pretty card, right? So it'll flood the market, but allow people to have a card that kind of, you can argue, was a gatekeep for black, right? You can't really play black unless you have this overrun for most decks. So,
and you can't
ones,
even, you can't even like build 2 black decks right now. I can't have Pan and Golden Cooler built at the same time because I need this card in both. It's just so there's no reason not to play it. It's so strong. So the new support that we're getting, you get 2 cards per brick, so that's nice. They come in gold stamps and silver foils. And if we take a look, I have all the thumbnails for all 40 cards here. We're going to go through each of them and group by their leader. But I just want to go through. Oop, I'm going backwards. Technical difficulties, folks. I'm sorry. So the leaders that are getting support, I've got 16 here in total. I think there's actually 15, but I can't figure out which Son Gohan youth leader those cards are going to be better in. So I just put the flip one and the one that came out a couple sets ago. But we've got a pretty big spread of past leaders. I think the one thing that stands out to me is there's not a single leader in this box that has a top this season. None of these decks are currently viable in the meta. They have been, some of them at least have been in the past. I mean, Red U7,
Yeah,
Gogeta
most
Zeno.
probably.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's.
Well, okay, maybe not most. About half.
The yellow ones in here are not that great. Majin Vegeta has. Golden,
Splashes, yeah.
the Dream Cooler has, Gogeta Zeno has, maybe 5 or 6 have been.
Yeah.
I mean, Surge was crazy; it got errated. That's before my time, but so there's a good mix here. Is there anyone in here that you're particularly excited to see, Andrew, that they gave support to?
Well, right away, I'm always like, okay, Green Saiyan, check. And the support for that, pretty good. Saw the baby, and I got so excited because on the list, the survey list that I think Damien has out with all the leaders, he's keeping track of which ones are getting support. On there is the starter deck Yellow Baby. And for this, they did the set Yellow Baby leader, which I've never played, but I love my starter Yellow Baby deck. So that was a little bit of a letdown, if I'm being honest. But Blue Bojack Crew finally gets some love, and I feel like that's a big crowd pleaser right there. Those people can be happy.
Jamaal, any of these stand out to you?
Did I say Bojack? I meant Bardock.
A couple of them. I really like the Surge Goku. I think the Surge Leaders is one of the best things that they ever created. Just kind of refreshed the game, especially when they came out. And it's just a unique style of leader. Gogeta, I'm not a fan of black decks, but I understand how the black players love Gogeta. So, I mean, that's an exciting one. Even Trunks Reboot, he kind of became a generic blue Suedo Soul Striker deck because his core engine cards were just not good. So now we kind of get those cards to kind of make him better. And maybe there's a way to place at least somewhat of an engine instead of just being generic. Other than that, I mean, you could kind of tell U7 Goku had a good run, right? When it was in the meta. It had a great run, honestly. It's kind of got power creep. And you also guys see in a bit, kind of some of these cards might potentially allow it to catch back up because it didn't really lose anything, right? It just, other decks got better. But I would say really those ones are kind of at the top of that list. I know green players are happy about Cooler. Green players love the Cooler Unison deck, for whatever reason. And it was a good deck. So the other ones are kind of, even Majin Vegeta, right? If played correctly, that deck is dangerous. The other ones are kind of those niche. They're just fans, right? You can kind of tell with the Gohans and the Blue Bardock. I think Blue Bardock's a little too late. Milson for the degenerates, and even Goku Black.
I would get milled by all 5 colors.
Yeah, right. I'm down. I will say this real quick. I'm surprised the 17-18 got support.
I was just going to talk about them too. Yep.
All right. That one is the most, because that's one of the newest leaders out of the entire bunch. Yep. And I know a lot of this is supposed to be legacy support. So I'm really surprised, like, that's the one that people, I guess, voted for, that they really wanted, compared to other leaders in the game that probably were on the surveys, the fact that got as many votes as it did. So
it's a really neat leader, and its counterpart in Gohanks was, like, top of the meta, really super strong. And it felt like in the set that deck kind of got overlooked, right? But I think it is a deck that's has a lot of good effects, has a lot of good cards. It establishes the Z extra, so I can see. To me, that would be one that they've been doing in the TPs lately. That seems more like where that
one could be. We could be playing against that one quite frequently if the support's good.
And the guy just topped with it, ironically, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is the one that he topped with in Mesquite.
Oh, you gonna make Bobby a liar?
Did I misspeak? Yeah, maybe I didn't have
Mesquite's
data.
Oh no!
Oh no!
He was playing. Maybe I'm misspeaking on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what he topped with was the 7s. Because everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And the deck's hyper aggro. All right, the deck is scary. When it works, and it's not hard to make it work. It's just so.
Yeah, it's close.
It has a lot.
Surge Kefla needs a lot. I don't think, but yeah, those are the leaders, right? So
let's hop in. I kind of ranked these in my own subjective, what I think will make an impact in the metagame, it's not necessarily like is the support good or bad, because some of these leaders are so far below relevant that a lot of these support cards are probably actually really good for the deck and makes them playable, and you can bring them to locals and have a good time. I just don't know if they're going to be seen at top tables, but in the first couple of slides, I would say it's at least possible. Even last year's anniversary box we were pretty hyped for, and didn't really make too many waves, honestly. There's some good stuff in there, but
it would have, but Pan didn't get its moment because Nats got delayed. I think Pan would have been well represented.
So RIP for no Pan support. You know,
I know.
Speaking of,
yeah,
almost every anniversary box, they're like, we're gonna make Pan good, and I think they're probably at a point where they're like, look, guys, we tried, we can't keep doing this. So.
Yeah, take 1 year off. They'll be back.
They'll be back.
You'll be ready. You did a new starter deck, and then maybe Pan will be white.
Shout out to the 2 Pan players in the game. Yeah.
The first deck I listed here is Goku Zeno, the one I'm most excited about, and also got support that seems really strong. So just to briefly give you an idea of what the 3 cards do, the Supreme Kai comes out of the Z deck for 1 and lets you flip over, so you don't have to get to 4 life to do all the stuff.
That's pretty good.
The 1 drop is just a... it becomes a barrier blocker if you use the leader's backside skill to buff them by 10k. And then if it attacks or activates blocker skill, it draws a card, so that's nice. And then the one that everybody is, the main event, I would say, is the 8-drop SS4 Gogeta Flash. It's a Union Fusion. Your opponent has to have 2 or more energy, so at least they kind of, just a little bit, held it back from being able to just be played on turn 1 like Thording back in the day. But you can Union Fuse from the Warp, and then it's a 35k triple strike. And when it's played, if you pay another black, you get 2 Warp 3 of their battle cards. So I think this is really strong. It still kind of keeps Gogeta Zeno in the same vein as a lot of these black decks where you have to win early or you're going to lose because you don't have a floodgate. But people are not going to be pumped to be seeing 35k triple strike on turn 2, especially when for some reason the Union Fusion isn't limit 1. So if you go second, in theory, you could play 3 of these with the marker. I don't know if you want to do that, but it's a play. So
that'd be scary. It doesn't have barrier though, and I feel like that's the one thing that a lot of these black early bombs, like Vegito, Zeno, and like Crimson Trunks provide, is that barrier threat. So this thing just, it'll just get removed the next turn most times, and
I'll say that,
gates, boys.
But I'll say that to that statement is that yes, it doesn't have barrier, but if we've seen the makeup of black, especially Gogeta Zeno, it doesn't care about bridging a turn. Like it's not like, oh, I really need my threats to get to the next turn. It's really about being impactful the turn they play it, right? And like you said, being able to play more than one of these in a turn, even if they kill the first one, that's fine. You can still, now you have the 2 energy the following turn to actually get the double effect off, right? Which is very kind of crucial for what black needs to do. Just close out the game, like Bobby kind of said. Most of these black decks, whether it's the Goku Zeno deck or this deck or even really Trunks, they don't really want to play long. They can kind of pivot, but Gogeta's biggest flaw was that it couldn't play long. And honestly, if you could pick, would you rather have another card to help you kill or another card to help you extend the game to a board state that you weren't really going to be able to navigate anyway? And having access to and also more importantly, another Union Fusion, right? That was the big fall of Gogeta, was that they lost thwarting to 1 and they just needed another name, right? Just another way to trigger the leader. And one thing we're not talking about here is that Supreme Kai allowing you to awaken and not go down in life, where normally they would have to go to 4. There's a world where the deck can play an extra turn or 2 now because it has an extra life or 2 to play with instead of being at 4 and just, hey, they either got it or they don't. And also it allows the leader to kind of use his effect, right? Instead of going to 4 awaken, I gotta go to 3 to get the plus 10. You now can do it early, 8 life or 7 life or whatever, and keep your pressure with your 1 drops, especially with the new one, which is also a 20k swing, right? Or 52, it's a 15k swing. They have the other old one drops that we can get the boost as well. But it always like that effect felt so lackluster, or it really felt like do or die if you're doing it because you're pushing yourself to 3. But now they can kind of get to maybe turn 4, 5, and still. And if this deck gets to turn 5, we can see the things it could do with 2 energy. Imagine 3 more. So
Yeah.
Yeah, if it bridged the turn, if it had barrier, it'd be way too strong, right? There's no chance.
But this one drop does now, so I mean, there's that.
The one drop might, yeah. Being able to pull from your life when you're at 7 or 6 is way better than having to pull from your life when you're at 4 or 3. You don't have to just kamikaze and hope for the best and hope you get there. You might be able to live. But if you're playing a deck that can't remove this on, your turn 3, because that's when you're going to be seeing it, which most decks can. But you got to have energy for a negate and be able to remove it. So it's going to make waves. Whether it's going to be better than what's currently in the meta for black, I don't know. Pan is a pretty strong deck. Golden Cooler has some things, but it's going to be in there, and it's going to be neat for people to test this out and get a chance to play with their old cards again. So, and Marvelous Might is back, so that's another thing. The deck doesn't have Beyond All Limits, which was really like one of the best cards in the deck to get back your stuff. You wouldn't have been able to get this Gogeta back anyway, which makes me wonder if they designed this before they banned Beyond All Limits, but neat deck. So let's move on from Gogeta Zeno.
Before we move on,
sure.
That's another thing though, the 8 cost. It's hard for a lot of decks that we say doesn't have barrier, but 35k red can't neg it efficiently. Nothing really has battle tricks that interact with an 8 drop, like Goku's deflection or something like that, where that hits 4s. Really, blue has the Gohan rare. So even then, that 8 costs, there's even Cumber, right? Like Cumber can hit an 8, but if they're using their Z deck, then it's hard for Cumber to be able to kill it. So I think that 8 costs actually is in a form a layer of protection against. Obviously, there is hard removal in most colors, if not all of them, with the exception of red, unless they're playing Vegeta with black. But just being that big beefy body, and really, you play one of these triple strike, you can 6-3 someone, and they don't have access to token negates. They don't have access to anything, those type of free negates. They probably don't have 5 in their drop for another free negate. So you can really put that pressure on, and now they're playing in a really bad situation just because, hey, I paid 1 energy and got a triple strike 35. So
yeah, people are afraid to play the, you need this X number of Z energy super combos because of explosive dance, right? So chances are they're not going to have a super combo on 6 life to get out of this either. So they're just going to have to keep energy up to negate or eat it. So it'll be interesting to see. It's definitely, people like it. It's going to be relevant, at least in the beginning when this comes out. So the next one, which is an interesting one, I didn't really expect that we were going to get this type of support, is the Surge Red Yellow Goku deck. Now this is, I can't really speak too much on this deck because it was meta relevant prior to me playing, but it just stands out as a Saiyan leader that's both red and yellow. So anytime you can mix 2 of the better colors in the game, the 2 best colors in the game right now, into one deck, it's going to be strong. So, Klinger, do you have some thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I actually did play back then, and the biggest strength of it was gaining. I felt like gaining 10k on defense. They changed that to now you can only be 15. You can't only do it on your turn. So there is that errata there, which, I mean, we're playing against Broly. That's 25k leader. I say unerrata, but I mean, you also have access now to red/yellow Unison, which, what is that, released and Wolfang Fist, and you're also red or yellow leader. So would you also, I don't know, I can't remember if they asked for a mono yellow leader or what, but you would have all those counterplays. I guess Yamcha's limited to 1, but this support is giving the ability to, with this Videl, to keep doing your Surge ability. It keeps fueling cards underneath it, and that's a brilliant way to support Surge leaders. I love that.
Yeah, that was always a weakness, I guess, of Surge leaders, is that you had 2 effects and that was it, and then you kind of just became a vanilla 15k leader that didn't draw. And I agree.
Yeah, you wanted to
right?
wait on it as
Right,
long as
you
you
would
could.
hold it and hold it and hold it for the perfect moment. But now you have this Fidel, which is a unique interaction where you can keep tucking cards under your leader. And more importantly, you tuck the Unison, and now the Unison turns your leader into a draw leader, right? So now you can, when he's played, you get to draw a card if you use your leader's skill, which is nice, but kind of also really that's just the cards we get, right? The Vegeta's really powerful. Giving your leader could be dual attack critical or even double crit with the Videl with a little energy investment here and there. But kind of just saying, hey, this is really a deck that kind of revolves around the leader, and we're going to give you cards that facilitate what the leader can do, that it doesn't feel like you have a vanilla leader after a certain point, which is really nice to see. But then the deck itself, I mean, you get the best, like you said, the best yellow, you get the best red. How many times have we built a deck and we're like splashing a color maybe and say, man, if your leader was red, if your leader was yellow, now you get floodgates, Bardock, floodgate, you get access to dance, you know, argue with, whoever thinks those cards are still relevant or as powerful. Point is you have access to them. You have a Unison that can floodgate your opponent's battle cards in conjunction with the leader. You have the Majin Vegeta card, which is broken, right? That we play in U7. You have the Saiyan Duo, which can kill anything, ignoring skills. So it's just one of those things where you just have the best of both worlds. We get the new red card, the new blocker barrier Goku. We get the 8-drop Gohan. So now you just have legs. You have things you can do. And even back then, right, the deck was probably one of the most expensive decks you could ever play in Dragon Ball, because maybe ever in any card game, realistically, at low rarity, right? You had Saiyan Instincts that was $100 card, and a couple other cards that were very expensive and hard to get at that
$20 uncommons.
Right. So, I read somewhere you can deck at one point was $1,700, and that's base rarity. That's not trying to get it all pretty. But, luckily we have a lot of reprints that we don't have to worry about that as much. But I do think that this might give the deck kind of what it was missing, despite the errata, because now it seems like the way it's designed is that the Unison is kind of complementing the leader not being able to gain that, because it still is built in now, right? Your leader gets 5k power for each of your opponent's skillless battle cards, so now you still could kind of be that 25k leader for a battle, so, or even more potentially. So
Yeah, seems like people are going to be onto this and trying to figure out how to crack it. So it'll be cool to see. There's not a ton of multicolor strategies currently in the meta. I mean, you have Gamma that's kind of multicolor, but it's a blue deck, and you've got red Vegeta that's playing black stuff. But for the most part, the multicolor stuff has been kind of phased out. So it's cool to see them supporting that. They won't print the Surge Leader. It seems like they're very scared to do that, but at least supporting this one, that's pretty neat. So the next one I've listed here, you got one more?
I was just saying, it'll be interesting because the Vegeta does cost red, the Videl does cost yellow. So it looks like you will have to probably mix it up somehow. And
right.
the interaction between the leader blanking all the cards, the Unison making all the skillless cards in rest mode, not switch to active mode, and the Videl being able to take your own life. Well, if you go down to 3 and they got a bunch of tapped cards, that sounds pretty good to me.
Right. I think they're kind of imploring you to just charge a mono yellow and a mono red, probably, right? We have a few check lands for that color combination.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
It'll be a code to crack for sure.
Right, for sure. Excited for that one.
All right, so this next leader is probably the leader I'm least excited to have to sit across the table from in an event, because I'm scarred from getting blown out by this leader in the past on 1 energy or 2 energy, where they just one of the most aggro decks that I've faced in green, Majin Vegeta. So it got 3 cards of support, and it's always one of those decks that people, I think, consider when they're looking at Green Saiyans. Like, is this still? Can we play this? Is this close? And it's just like, it feels like it's just a little bit under, where the modern game is. But these cards might bring it back. So Andrew, as the resident green player here, thoughts on Majin Vegeta?
Yeah, and I've done some deck building with it already too, and so I got to say, we'll start with the Bobbity here. So on play, you pay 1 to essentially play a Boo from your drop for free by removing 1 card from underneath the Quickening, which is a field card you get out hopefully on turn 1 with the other Babidi 1 drop or just casting it for 1. Overall, and then you can go in this Boo. If you choose this one, this will add the Parasite Ball to your hand, but then you have to get rid of a card as well if you do that. And going into there's only 1 5-drop Zeno Boo, and that one needs to remove marker off your Unison to get its auto skills. If you ask me, for 2 energy, it's a little lackluster. But this Boo is great in other aspects because it also can go fetch the other Babidi 1-drop that plays the field card. So I know, but in the past you used to run a Hatchiyak, and that would, like the Black Hatchiyak or Agents of Destruction, you could play a Babidi from your deck. This will do that and be a 3-drop Boo with Deflect and Barrier, so it has all the protection. This is like the Boo this is all you need. I mean, then if you want to go and free play a Boo sometime in the game, you can do that. If you want to invest in some Boo chain stuff, you can do that too. I'd say that this Boo is pretty great support in that aspect. And then this Vegeta, I mean, this is what's moving the needle for everybody, I'm sure. Just another servant you can play in the early game to take life, but also you can just switch it to rest mode and play the old 4-drop SR. So you're going to wipe the board and remove 3 markers off of a Unison. This does have Deflect as a 3-drop, which is amazing. The only interaction, I guess, is you just hope they don't have a counterplay that like Charismatic or Black or something like that. Because if they have a Unison out, which you could remove 3 markers, but it would be too late with this guy. But overall, this card is going to be great. And you're going to always have them in your deck because you're bottom decking off your leader. So, yeah, look forward to playing the 4-drop for 1 energy and clearing the board. It'll be a good time.
Is that 4-drop the Triple Striker? Is that the same card that I'm thinking of?
Yes. Yeah, he's 20k Servant, Triple Strike, I believe. And he KOs all battle cards and removes 3 markers off of a Unison.
So am I missing something here when I read this and I don't see limit 1? In theory,
I guess you're not.
Triple Striker out. You could get
I guess that's what we're doing. This
out.
anti box is all about, just triple strike. That's what we're doing. The anniversary box
gates,
in
guys.
2025.
Right.
Yep.
Eat your heart out, Fusion World.
All right.
Yeah, we got the triple strikes.
I think kind of like that same sentiment as you, I share, Bobby, is that playing against this deck was always annoying just because of the amount of aggression and swings that just kept coming, and you think they're done, and there's another one, and then a crit here or another swing there. And now you just kind of gave it access to another board wipe, that is kind of a 1 energy board wipe. Honestly, not ignoring barrier is kind of silly, right? And one thing is now it kind of renders token negates a little irrelevant because they can go play their token negate and you go, okay, I'll play Prince of Destruction, the new one, and hey, rest it, kill your blocker, and then swing with whatever else I needed to swing with. And like you said, it's always recyclable. It's just going to be a lot of swings, and then you have to answer that 30k or that triple strike as well, right? So it's definitely going to be a scary deck. I can see that the Boo and the Babidi are consistent pieces to just allow you to see your engine that you needed to see early, which is probably one of the detriments of the deck. I think the deck was always in a good spot, or a good deck. It just needed, hey, if I don't see this lineup of cards, then it felt a little rough. So this definitely looks like it helps that a lot.
Bobby, you just opened my eyes with that not limit 1.
Yeah,
because I thought it played it. This Vegeta doesn't go anywhere. You just tap it and play the 4-drop from your hand,
right?
And then you bottom deck with a leader, and then the leader for 1 green, you can reveal bottom deck. If it's a Vegeta, you play it.
Yep.
And just do it again if you draw another 4-drop. Okay.
Right. Forget I said
Daddy
that.
Daddy like.
I don't want to test this. All right, so that's going to be a problem. Let's continue on. This next one is probably one that people were looking forward to the most, I would say, of all of them, maybe tied with Goku Zeno. Red Sun Goku Supreme Warrior, the Sparking U7 Saiyan Goku deck. It was top of the meta, and probably the top of the meta during, at least for me, as I've been around since set 10, one of the best metas we've had. That set 16, set 17 Ultimate Squad, right before we got the Zenkai stuff. I thought that meta was really diverse and really strong. So this is definitely a well-remembered one. It's kind of been power crept. It didn't really do anything wrong. It just better red decks have come out, and red among all the other colors, it seems like if there's one top dog, that's what people play. Like it seems like even right now, if you look at the meta, yellow there's Nuova, but people will play other yellow decks. Blue there's Gamma, but people will play other blue decks. There's no one's playing anything but Vegeta if you're playing red. So it kind of limits the diversity out there. But it got 3 cards. It got a Z card and 2 battle cards. Jamaal, do any of these stand out to you as bringing it back to relevancy?
For sure. I think one of the the deck was strong, right, in its heyday. And I spoke on it a little bit earlier. It was never became a bad deck. It just got power crept. A lot of 15K swings are kind of designed in that deck. And I was just rereading this Gohan. He gives you a Monster Reborn for your Universe 7s, right? And he boosts it for 10K for the turn. So any dual attackers or any 15s are now at 25 swing, which kind of now makes and he's 20 himself. So it kind of gave that power boost to be able to kind of not just be, I swing 15 and my opponent combos 1 and they're getting out of it. Now you actually are putting that pressure. The Z card is kind of silly. You gave red barrier removal, or it's a form of barrier removal. And we all know how much, especially for 1, and that Kaioken kind of ironically was like your best barrier removal in red, and that cost you 2. Where now you have it on a body, and it ignores barrier -25, which kills 9 out of 10 cards in the game that your opponent would be playing. Even this Krillin play up to 1 red non-Krillin universe or spark intense skill from your drop. So now you just have another way to, I guess, recycle your cards, right? The deck really did rely around having those U7s, and once you kind of solved them or ran through them, it was like, okay, now what is your deck doing? Now you have 2 cards to say, hey, I can still keep playing them and still gain my Universe 7 effects back, which is kind of a cool mechanic to add into the deck to say, hey, let me get that stuff back. So,
Klinger, any thoughts here on these? Do you like these, or doesn't do enough?
I'm sure it's gonna do some things. I just think that the end game of the deck, the bomb, I mean, it used to be so scary, and now it's just for some reason it doesn't have that same aura. So I'm hoping these cards can push it that way. Red can have choices. That's the big thing for sure.
Yeah, they attempted support for this with the Z Extra, one of the first Z Extras they came out with in the it was some tournament kit, some I forget what it was, Zenkai Cup or something. They did something that gave you that final countdown card, but it was like too little, too late.
Yep.
In the vein of what their support cards used to be, it feels like, where a deck would be so far gone, and then they try and support it, and it wasn't good enough. Where I think that reduced the boss monster to 3 energy.
Reduced it. Yeah.
So at least like you spread out the curve over a couple turns instead of having to pay 4 all at once. So it'll be interesting to see if that gets there or not. But a red Saiyan is always viable, and we'll see. I hated playing against this deck because I was a big fan of the Maki Tabora Wish deck. And
yeah, the thing here though, you gain barrier removal. I mean, red decks that have that's a big thing for sure.
Yeah, that's what put Hit 2 over the top, right? Basically, is that SR. Like the 30K bodies are great, but now you can answer the Sin Shenron card. That was always Gohanks' biggest issue too. Is this deck is so good, but if they have yellow Sin, you're kind of
and
in
this
trouble.
one -25, that's perfect for Sin. Play auto.
If it's still around, we'll see.
Time will tell.
All right, so another fan favorite that from similar era that people are going to be into is the green Unison Cooler deck. I liked playing this deck a lot. It kind of had the Dark Broly vibes, where you have a lot of dead cards in hand, but your leader allows you to pitch them. It kind of fell off, I feel like, in the Zenkai format, where you're Z-charging cards, and this deck combos cards, but it doesn't actually combo cards, so you don't get to Z-charge those Unisons that you were dumping for combo power, so kind of lost a little luster. They've put out a couple of cards here and there, but it hasn't brought it back to prominence. But the Z Leader and this Frieza seem like they're pretty strong. So Andrew, you have an opinion on these cards
Well,
here?
if you played the deck, why don't you take it away? I think they're great value for sure, but I've never actually played Cooler, even though it's green.
It was kind of like an anti-meta choice for a while. It was a good pick because a lot of floodgates were floodgating battle cards, and I was into this deck and I was into Drip Crew a lot. I thought those decks were just fun to play. Even the spaceship deck when that came out, the red one. I thought all those decks had a neat just mechanic and play style. I didn't top with it or anything, but I played it at locals a lot and had a lot of fun. So if you want me to give you
top locals.
I can do that. Yeah, occasionally I can top our locals. We have our locals is tough, but yeah, I can do all right.
No,
But this Z Leader is strong. It's 20k Z Leader. A Spirit Boost 2 that when this card is placed in the leader area, add up to 1 green Frieza land card with energy cost of 4 or 5 from your deck or drop to your hand, then shuffle so you get the draw. You can add this Frieza that they printed. The neat thing about it is you're going to swing with your leader first. You're going to Z Awaken. And then the activate main on the Z Leader switches your leader back to active mode and then gets rid of this card, which will reset your original leader. So you'll get to do the autos again, which is definitely an awesome ability. You'd probably don't want to keep this Z Leader on defense, even though it's 20k, because you can't. It does not have the ability to combo off the Unisons for power. And I think they also prevented that by making it a limit 1 on the switch this card to active mode, so you don't like bridge a turn on defense.
But it would have to have some costs if it wasn't.
Yeah, for sure. But it definitely getting that leader ability twice to play another green Unison for free is really sweet. And this Frieza is a very strong card. You know, when your green Unison's placed in the drop, you draw a card, and that doesn't save from the Unison area. So if you combo, use the activate battle to combo a card and get 5k, you'll draw for that. So I think that's pretty good support.
We'll have to look into that because when a card is a battle card, it has to be in the battle area per the rules. So I wonder if a Unison. I don't know. I would look into that before we.
Yeah, I asked Jerry before we got on about that, and he said it just says when a green Unison's placed into the drop, and I guess maybe it'll recognize it as a Unison. I'm always wrong on these things. Whenever I read them, like whatever I think in my head is definitely going to be the opposite when you get to the ruling. But in theory, that works. And if it doesn't work, you're getting the leader an opportunity to do the leader twice. So you should have a Unison go to the drop while this is on board. So
I will say, worst case scenario, you just have a draw 2 leader, right? No.
So bad. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, you have like the leader itself, right? When this card attacks, you can draw a card, right? And I think even if it doesn't work that way, like you said, the way the leader is designed, they want you to pop the old Unison for a new one, so you really can get that draw, swing, or not draw, swing, get the draw off the Frieza, right? That's the trade-off. Now you get the Unison and a draw, so you're not sacrificing one or the other anymore. And
this would be a good deck.
You get to reset it and do it again if you needed to. So it's definitely good. The deck was good when it was good, right? So I don't see how a Z Leader...
2Z energy might be the only thing holding it back a little bit. That, like you were talking about before, like that's going to be a little tough at times. You might not be able to go every single turn and do this, but hopefully you'll be able to.
All right.
And just getting that, if you were able to Z Awaken a couple times throughout the game, you're going to cycle through those Unisons in your hand at double speed, because now you're doing the leader effect twice, so you might not have as many dead Unisons in your hand when it comes time to, go for game or have to defend, or even defend something on board. You'll have a little bit of combo power in hand. So that's definitely a neat one. I'm glad they picked it. I wish they would have picked Drip 2 also. That would have been really cool. I love that deck, but maybe next year. Maybe next year. It does suck.
Yeah.
Do more surveys. Have your kids do surveys.
All right, so the next one we've got here, and we talked about it a little bit when we talked about the leaders, is this red Android 1718 deck. And this came out in set 23. It was kind of the partner to Gohan, and it's a strong deck. It can do some things. It's been close a couple times. It has topped, like sporadically. Somebody will play it, and they'll throw in some random spice or I know it suffers from not being a red Saiyan, right? So you can't play light in the dark. So you have to find like a random SCR to throw in, which can be tough because you're
Vegito.
limited on what you can play.
You get Vegito now.
Now you
It's
have
perfect.
the red Vegito, so you can do that. Any of this stuff stand out to you, Jamaal, right off the jump as being like, hey, this is going to bring it back, or?
Standing out, I'm not 100% familiar with the deck to say where these cards will help the deck, but I will say that I think I touched on that earlier, that the deck was just super aggressive from the jump to begin with, right? Being able to recycle those 17, 18 swings and keep them going, and playing this from under this in the West City. And you just kind of gave it another name. It looks like this 19 is a consistency piece, right? To kind of even double down on that aggression line. We all know the leader has been good, and like you said, it's been topping. I think these cards are gonna help. They can't hurt, and giving it more legs is always gonna be a good thing. So,
And I think the card having both names in it is, I believe, big for the deck. I think the field kind of, you like, if you play one, you can play the other name. So this will always just, whichever one you need, or you can always go into this one. I mean, something like that. I believe the dual name. I mean, I'm not an expert in the deck by any means, but I think that's a big deal.
And with some of these decks, the support can be somewhat adjacent to other leaders that are close. So I know when I read this Android 1718 in the middle here, that's just an activate main, pay 1. You get to play it, and then when it gets played, you draw a card and give your red Android +5. Does this do anything for you, Andrew, in Goku in 18?
You talking about GT Goku
I
18?
know you like that deck.
It's definitely good. I would put it like right there with how like the Hellfighter 17 or the 17 dual name. I mean, like, it's just a good value card.
Right.
My deck's a little bit too troll to kind of include it, but if I was mono red, for sure, I feel like I would add it for sure. Yeah.
yeah, this card definitely has future playability in a lot of red strategies that are androids. So red.
Draw one gain
specifically.
5K, not bad.
Right.
Yeah, even the Super
bad.
17 that got the recent TP or the recent Champ Pack promo, I think the leader can swing multiple times in a turn. So just playing this, drawing a card, and giving your leader 5K.
There you go.
That's a lot of value in and of itself. So, all right, we'll speed through some of these that either we're not too familiar with or we're not positive that it's going to make a big impact. This one, I think, still people have hope for. This yellow future Gohan, I know it rose to fame with Trey Faircloth playing this a couple years ago and trying to make it work. And it has a great boss monster. The 8-drop is really strong, but it was hard to get out. So. Do either of you guys have any thoughts on this support and if it's viable?
I think it's a value deck at the end of the day, right? It's always one of those type of decks that you have to kind of navigate your resources and navigate your energy. But what the deck provides for you when you do that correctly, it does reward you kind of sometimes more than other decks because you're still in yellow, but you have this leader that can untap things, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Switch
right.
action mode. So there's that
Right.
Trunks with barrier.
Right. So you get an A drop, right? Is ridiculous of a card. It was just, now you have a more the Vegeta's just value, right? Consistency. And then you get to evolve, and even the Suedo swap mechanic of the Trunks is actually really, really powerful to kind of go into. There's conversations about, and that's a ruling question of evolve skill, does that count EX evolve? And then if that's the case, there's a world you can swap this into the 3-drop Trunks from the Trunks Vegeta deck. And if you can do that, even throwing it into this deck, right, being able to just throw down a Poutine-esque effect with barrier and then save your Protector of the Future for another turn is really, really, really powerful. And then when this card,
They kind of gave this like the Oob support treatment. Like this Future City Z extra, I believe you awaken when you have. Well, you're playing your 2-drop Z card for 1 energy now,
right?
And then you get a Unison attached with it now. So I feel like that's a good way to support decks for sure.
Right, and then you get a reduce on your evolving. Right, evolving has always been a very taxing ability to
sticky Unison too.
Right,
draw engine sticky. I mean 4 markers with turns played.
Correct.
Yeah, sticky Unison, and anytime a yellow deck, because yellow suffered from this, I feel like for a long time, that it just didn't have a good generic Unison. Every other color had like a +1 draw one Unison, and yellow didn't have that. But any yellow deck that can just have a Unison sitting there for release from evil being free, and now all these decks have to play around that. That's definitely a, even if it's not a direct in art type buff, it's great for the leader to have that in there. So we'll move on from that one, and we'll try and go a little bit quicker through these. So we have another Saiyan deck. We've got Blue Future Trunks. This is the starter deck from when the Zenkai block started. It was a reboot of the previous Life Flip Trunks that they kind of ruined, I guess would be the best way to put it, with their rulings on
That's right.
revealed versus face-up cards couldn't be revealed. So the last time this saw any relevancy, it really wasn't being played as an archetype deck. It was just being played as a pseudo Soul Striker that had a little bit of same blue generic stack, but had a little bit different utility with not being able to be crit and having that activate main ability on the leader's backside. So do you guys think any of this does anything for this deck?
I'm sure it does.
I think the Vegeta, right, allows you to Z charge, right, and that's part of one of his 1,000 awaken conditions is Z energy. So the Vegeta is probably one of those cards where I can see this deck or this becoming more still of a generic deck with more Crimson-esque deck building, where you just go really minimal on the archetype, just because the old archetype wasn't worth playing. They have a Pseudo Zeno, and that wasn't even worth it. And we know how broken Zeno is. So if that's the case, I don't really see any of these making that stronger per se. But I can see these some of them being a standalone good card to help the consistency of the deck, or just give it another leg. Like the cards read really strong, right? The Vegeto's really powerful, ignoring barrier. Yeah, it puts it into their hand, but blue having ignoring barrier. It's just how efficiently can you evolve, right? That's get the bodies on the board too, even Union Patara. And the 4-drop is actually really powerful. I did read somewhere that it allows you the deck to ramp now more consistently without any real drawback. I'm not quite sure how that interaction works.
It used to be temporary ramp.
So.
That was people, they would nitpick that because it was temporary ramp. The ramp would go away, and now this is permanent.
Right. So you're right. So you play the 4-drop, get rid of the thing that would have went away, and then turn it into a real energy, which is kind of cool, right? Like, again, you can go still generic and leverage the 4-drop, and the Vegeta still have a ramp blue deck and still be this generic style of blue, and maybe even get to a turning the tide turn or whatever you might need to do, what blue normally does to close out a game. So it's probably powerful, and it reads powerful. The question is, how really is this Vegeta worth it playing, and how consistently can you play it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't stand out to me as anything extra special. Some of the weaker cards, but maybe we'll be proven wrong. That's why we got to get on here and give our takes so people can flame us in the comments.
All right, but having removal built into your leader is also very strong, right? Just at will. So
another leader in the vein of too little, too late. People have been asking for blue Bardock support since the Giant Force draft box when they gave us all these Bardock cards, and it seemed super exciting. And we wanted a reboot leader, we wanted a multicolor leader, we wanted all this stuff, and they just never delivered. And now, I think it's 5 years later, we got a couple cards. The leader's still the same, and I think the leader is weak. It's kind of a slow deck. This Tora reads very strong. You get to play the Final Strike Bardock, which then lets you play Tora's Armband for 2 less, which Tora's Armband draws 4 cards. So that stands out as a pretty good card. But it still seems too slow in the current meta, because they want you to set up the Z extra on 1, and then I don't know what you're supposed to do on turn 2. Probably negate with this 2 energy Bardock, and then hopefully get into your stuff on turn 3. But other decks don't have to wait that long to do what they want to do. So do you guys have any thoughts here? Or
this is one deck that I've never entertained in my life.
It's been too long.
Right. I think this is the first time I'm actually reading the leader, and I kind of agree. It's a little lackluster.
Reckon 5 is not always guaranteed.
Right.
I remember that.
Right. And what you gain for it compared to what other people, like maybe I don't draw a card for 2 turns or 1 or 2 turns, and that's not really cool either.
That's why you draw forward later in the game.
And you draw 4 later, right? And I mean, we talked about being able to draw 4 for cheaper, and also untap. You become this Crimson-esque Awaken effect of being able to draw X and untap 1. But then it also is you have to see it every time to draw that 4, and then what are you doing when you're not doing that? I know part of the core of this was very crucial in mono blue list, generic list with the Bardock ape, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because you could play
Yeah,
from the
Bardock Ape
energy,
was
and
good from the energy.
right.
Yep.
So that was kind of the best thing that we got from that era, and that kind of was part of the meta for a long time. I just don't see the legs for this deck to. It's still blue, and it still has blue issues, and I'm just not. None of these cards really seem like they solve any of those blue issues per se.
Yeah, it can draw a bunch, but I think you're also going to lose a bunch
Trying to
to
not
defend
die.
yourself. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you draw 4 and lose 5, then fine, I guess. But then you
Hopefully
gotta see
somebody,
the card.
hopefully somebody cracks it,
Yeah.
makes it cool. There's,
I'm sure.
it would have been great if they would have somehow given us a blue-yellow check land or something to be able to play some of that multicolor stuff without energy.
The arrival that draws 2 at the end of your turn.
Yeah,
I think that card was pretty nuts. If it goes, I think you can get that thing out really early too. So
They
Yeah.
they probably should have just gave it a Z leader. I think a Z leader probably would have fixed you know, more issues than not. The leader is just so
you got a problem? Slap a
inefficient.
Z leader. Bandai.
So, alright,
that's what the Z extra is supposed to be, right? It's literally a mechanic that says we can fix any deck by putting whatever text we want on your board.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's
They
great.
didn't use it effectively here, I don't think. All right, so we got Super Baby 2, the wrong Super Baby, if you listen to Andrew. Some of these cards look like they have some cool abilities.
Yeah.
Anything here that stands out?
Well, there's the Bola right away. They all have a rival, so I don't know if that's going to be an issue per se. There's the Beerus promo gets reduced, but this Bola reduces energy exhaust and combo costs of your stuff, making the deck less clunky. Has barrier, offering, blocker. That sounds pretty dang good. Other than that, I mean, not quite sure what the brainwashes. I think they're servants, so probably like a 20k, 25k swing. Tap ignoring barrier could be all right. Has offering on the go 10. Love offering. Great question to ask your opponent. And I think it's pretty funny with this Trunks that can't evolve. Are they worried we're gonna go? Is it chain attack Trunks?
it's not true. Yeah.
Or
I mean,
I'm not quite sure which Trunks can evolve on top of this, but the one that can play Zeno or whatever. I don't know if that'd be Troll or whatever, but
That would be great.
but I mean, it seems like it's good. It seems like good support. I can't. Does this deck also awaken at really low life like the other one? That might be an issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it has an alternate awakening condition.
Yeah.
I kind of think these cards. I was looking up the brainwash cards that Trunks can play, and it's
might
really
be
two.
Unison. It might be
It's
Unison.
literally only 2 brainwash cards, and one I think is a Bola, and the other one is a Boma or something like that. And they're
Yeah,
not,
I mean, you free play them.
right,
Kinda good.
But I see the leader though with the Bola here. It's pretty good, right? You play her for free
Yeah.
rather than a rival, and then now you can combo and a rival the other.
She's
stuff.
you dog. She's brainwashed. Look at that.
Yes, sir. So that's
These are all brainwashed.
They're all brainwashed, so you can play all of them. I think their
you
rival
go.
is just there just in case, right?
Just
But
in case
really,
anymore. Okay, yeah.
yeah. And you can kind of see this getting nasty, right? The leader will play the Trunks and then plays one of the servant guys, and then now you have a 2 swings, right? Making up for what the leader might be lacking and being a 10K.
Yeah,
at
10k
times.
leader. That's suspect.
So, but it does facilitate some of the other. Bullet allows you to play these other cards to combo with them, and or just
The bullet
charge
gets me
them.
excited. Yeah.
The bullet, I think the bullet is really the best out of the bunch here, and I'm sure
Does
someone
everything.
who's never played this deck would probably tell me otherwise. But I know Klinger and Jordan.
Or someone who
Markle-
has.
No, it's going to be someone who never has, to be honest. But I know Jordan Markle, he was a fan of the starter deck one as well. So I'm sure everyone was a little excited at first. And maybe there's a world that some of these can kind of help, because Bola is not limited to this leader.
Awakens.
Her rival is, but you can still you can find a way to get her on the board. I don't know if there's a way to cheat her out in the other deck. You can still reduce the cost of the other stuff, but it's probably kind of one of the weaker decks in the set of this set. It feels like.
I saw
this
these
makes it a little bit
reveals. I was excited that maybe I have some red yellow cards that will sell now. If this has any bit of hype behind it, maybe I can get rid of some of that stuff. All
2
right,
energy
so
counter.
Yeah, the counter. There's an alt art if you if you were winning those the previous season, I think that was 2 seasons ago with the alt
We
art.
get Almighty Resistance and Surge Coup. We're back. Oh my god.
Oh, true. That one also has that. There we
Yeah,
go.
it's done. We're
All the-
done.
all
we
the
can,
good
we can
dates
stop the
are-
video. Yeah, we're good. We're done.
Gosh, you weren't supposed to say that.
Nothing else matters. They were gonna figure it out eventually. Someone in the comments. You forgot to say Resistance.
All right, so we got Shenron Zeno. This is another deck. It's kind of it floats in and out of the meta every once in a while. It pops up. Somebody will randomly just do really well with it when nobody expects it. Probably just on the fact that you can win in time if you just read all your cards to your opponent, because these cards all have a million effects, and by the
It's
time
all
they
the
figure
same.
out what your deck does, you've already won or whatever. So, but it does have this extra card. I think this art is really cool. But this extra card gives you
Yeah.
an opportunity to mill a couple more cards from your opponent, and you can also free play. If you use the leader's ability, Spirit Boost 1, you can free play a 3-drop Shadow Dragon, which you can free
Yeah.
play this new support card, which
It's all the
comes
protection.
down and yeah, it has Deflect and Barrier, and then you can pay 1 and go into your 8-drop. So I don't know if this brings the deck back to
That sounds pretty good. A 1-mana age, right? That sounds
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. It definitely seems like they printed 2 good cards for the deck. Whether the deck is 2 good cards away from being relevant or not, I don't know. But could be
I
worse.
remember the first time I ever heard about this deck, I asked somebody what this, and they said
Oh,
it
it's
could
a
be
chore
played
to
2
learn it.
ways. You know, it could either be it can be an aggro deck. The person was saying that it has aggression line built into it, and also a mill deck. So just be careful, be wary of however they're playing it or building it. This Sin looks like it kind of helps both, right? It helps the aggression line being a 20k barrier, so that's a swing turnover turn, and also the mill with the draw. So maybe it is maybe it is a thing that the deck was missing. And the deck never got bad, like you said. There's people who love the deck,
Yeah.
and they just stopped playing it. And the deck is only as good as people are willing to play, right? And
Yeah.
no one's
Once
willing
again,
to play
no
it.
limit
Right.
on the
So,
playing the big boy. No limit on that.
no
You
limit
can
on that.
easily
And
get
that's
2 of
just-
these 3-drops in the same turn.
Right. It seems to be the common trend. So maybe you can do the
Triple
be a
strike.
little bit more aggressive. Another triple
Is
strike.
it a triple strike?
The
Is the
8-drop is
8-drop
a triple strike. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So yeah.
We
knew
found
they were
our
doing it.
our title. Triple strike for
right.
days.
Triple
Anti-box
strike's
reveals
back.
2025.
Yep. Triple strikes back, baby. Hold your negate. So no, it's cool, right? The extra is cool, right? It is a mill 4 potentially, right? Or mill 2 and mill 1 with leader.
It's plus another one. Yeah. It's
Right.
always plus
So-
another one.
They're good. You know, I think it can only make the deck better, and it's not a lot of cards. It's 2 cards that seem like they just
Yeah.
naturally
They're
work
good.
with what the deck is doing. So, and
Yeah,
being
even-
able to cheat out any boss monster is always a plus.
Even when you play against this deck all the time, I know Angel at my local, shout out to the Turtle Club. He played this deck every week, and every single week I still had to ask him, "What do these do? What am I walking
I
into?
still don't know.
What activate battle are you going to kill me with here? I don't know." So
My response is, how many do I have to mill? Okay, that's it. That's all I.
you tell me
Alright.
what to do. Yeah, exactly.
Alright. But it does have cool cards like the Dragon Slaying Bullet and some of the other Sin cards that and even Oceanus, right? Which is no one's ever going to swing through Oceanus against this deck. And we talk about triple strikers and this and that. You know, you force them to have an out for that. So it can be strong for sure.
Yep. All right, so Red Hit. This is to me, kind of an out of left field inclusion. I don't know who was clamoring for this, but I guess they were.
It's good support. It's cool. I like it.
Klinger, take it away. You tell us.
Yeah. So, I mean, this chop off the bat, it tutors for your Unison, which, like, I mean, if you have the ability to play a Unison, you want to play a Unison. And this Unison, like, gets a 2-drop from your deck into the drop, so you're never going to be, like, whiffing on the leader to play one. But this Champa also stands and has barrier blocker. If this never gets removed, your free play 20Ks are now 30Ks, which enables some things that like Kidku could do with 30K power cards, right? Chaozu's and Goku's. And I think that's going to give it its legs right there. This 8-drop, I mean, 8-drop's good. Dual attacker. And like you can remove something that doesn't have the keywords that the leader can, or you can just like make this a dual crit or dual double, or no triple strike swings. Dang. No, but no, I mean, I like it's solid support. It's a local tier deck probably, because it's kind of just like, well, why wouldn't you just play Kid Q if you wanted to play these Kid Q cards? But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'll play it.
This becomes the Champa allows the leader to become a Suedo draw 2 leader, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
you get to
bounce it back to your
draw,
hand. Yeah.
bounce it back to your hand. It's a combo. At the end of the day, you put it back in the drop and get it back again.
Yep.
So
Play some U7s, combo,
Right.
draw another card. I don't know.
I think a big problem with this hit when it got even back then and then the reboot was
Or
it
less
doesn't
life.
kill enough, right? There's not enough keywords on there. What about the keywords it can't hit? And this 8-drop seems to be the way to solve that. So if there was an
Yeah.
issue, it does solve an issue. Is it enough? Who knows, right?
Well,
We'll
the
see.
6 life awaken instead of 4 life was probably the biggest issue.
Right,
And that, I mean, yeah, good support. I mean, they did well in this for sure.
right.
And it's another deck that you can, if you can figure out how to make a red-green build work, you can abuse Healing Pod
Pot it
with
up.
the skillless
But you
cards.
do got to
so-
pay. You got to pay 2 red for Champa, so I think it's gonna be a little tough. But if you
Right.
can charge red green turn 1, I guess you're there.
Right.
There's that
But,
Vegeta,
yeah,
right? If your
it-
opponent has 5 or less in their hand, it ignores energy loss. Isn't that a card? Doesn't that exist for red-green?
Could be. You do some discarding, so you could also do like warp lands. But
Or right.
mono red's
Like,
probably
yeah.
just the way.
And if you go green, then you become a draw 3 leader, right? So you can get some real value here. It's just how much having removal in the leader, and that's all you really are, is a leader that has removal. It doesn't really do anything special other than that. And now you're still
It's kind of a
you're really-
20k duel if you think about it.
Yeah, Suedo duel for sure. But then you got to pay 2 for the hit, right? So then now your leader's not free, which is kind of weird, right? Like you had free removal, but now if they have something with double strike or crit or barrier, and I mean the barrier is cool, right? I don't know if that even works with the leader that way, but either way,
You got to choose the card. So
right? So
Don't give
Listen-
their card barrier. That's probably a good rule of thumb. You don't want to do that.
here's one of your hit cards.
unless you're gonna like swing for game with cantrip,
I'm not
then you
really
can do that.
actually. My brain is not computing, and I feel like everything I said is completely wrong because I don't understand how.
Like the
giving
last
my
hour?
opponents that
Let's
basically.
hope not, dude.
I just don't understand why giving a battle card crit double strike.
so
or
you're
barrier
co-
block-
So you
So
can pop
you're-
it with the leader.
listen,
It
it's so
doesn't
you
say
can give your
that,
hit
though.
barrier, or the other 3 can make your leader kill it.
But why am I choosing my opponents? Because hit can't kill any of those. Oh, it can kill crit and blocker.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
it
so
kills
you choose
double
whether
strike, blocker,
you want to
crit.
get right.
It can
okay, so
choose
it's
the
either-
other 3, or if they
Alright.
don't have a card you want to hit right now, you give your own hit barrier, right?
and then now
Then
you.
that's it, and then you can do it on your opponent's turn. Is that? I think I'm reading
Yes,
that
'cause-
correctly.
yes, activate main battle. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah,
yeah, I
this
was
is
right.
battle.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. Right.
Yep.
It fixes
Battle. I mean,
Right.
actually, battle on both turns is quite good. So
Yeah.
this
Instant
has
speed
some legs.
removal is always a little crack. Okay, that's cool. So you give the hit barrier, kill something
Yeah.
if they match that keyword already, and then now you can do it on their turn. Can you kill my barrier guy before you swing? I like that. There's
That's cool.
definitely legs.
Yeah, I dare you to play the
God.
new yellow 8-drop Broly against this deck. Give your card double strike, blocker, and
Oh,
crit.
Broly
see what
Vigor.
happens. See what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. I guess. All right.
All right, so probably one that we're gonna skim over because this is not our lane. I don't think.
how'd you know?
And I don't. I read them. I don't really. I don't even know. One of the cards has Kefla Surge on it, so I put that leader here. I'm assuming these have cross compatibility
You got the right
between all these U6 decks, but none of them are close to the meta. I would say the yellow one had like a minute, or maybe it seemed like maybe it could do something, but
Starter
you
deck
guys
was kind of
have-
cool when it came out.
yeah. Any thoughts on this, or just let someone else, some other content creator? I know Turtle Club, Dylan, my buddy, he's big into U6, so hopefully he'll cover this and tell you all the good
They
stuff.
dropped
so go
his
check
link in
them
the
out.
comments. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop the
Right.
description to his video. We
Yeah,
might
link
be
in
in
the
it. Who
description.
knows?
I don't know what the deck did before, and I don't know if this fixes what the deck was trying to do. Whatever leader this is actually for, if it's a Surge one, and something tells me that this isn't enough. I will say though, the 5-drop Kefla, and this isn't in a niche situation. If you can find a way to play her out for 5, or if there is a better Kel leader, she is, depending on the ruling, I don't know because of the wording. You can argue that she gets rid of Indestructible and she can get rid of the Gogeta 8-drop for Aegis. but it's weird because it says place at the bottom and negated
With
with
its
its
skills
skills
negated for
negated.
this
So is that I understand with it's negated, but at what point does it check to negate the skills? When it's at the bottom, or the moment you target it as the auto itself?
Yeah.
So I think that's something to look into. Even that card alone could be really good if resurgence and indestructible.
Well, it's the implication, right?
Right. So, but everything else, I don't understand the under battle cards and under. I know we're putting it under. It doesn't even go under the subs leader.
Dang. We're all
So
green.
I don't know. I don't know. There's probably. I mean, I think we got us new Kefla recently, and it probably is for that. But then it's new. All right, look, that's beyond me. All right, so someone tell us. I'm sorry, we can't know everything. We try our best, but
Yeah, drop your hot
unfortunately-
takes in the comments.
Right,
Yeah.
we'll take. Yeah,
If you
whatever
made it an
guys
hour
think,
into this video,
for sure.
We're
So-
sorry to disappoint you if you've watched for an hour and 10 minutes just for this.
For Kefla.
Just for Kefla to see what
Yeah,
you
me.
would say about Kefla.
no.
Dream's dead. That's all I can say. So
Hey, play it. I hope it works.
yeah, play it.
Just started someone's villain arc, Bobby. Thanks.
Yeah,
There
prove
we
me
go.
wrong, please.
Yeah,
Alright.
if you see Klinger,
I'll see you in Nets. Yeah, I'll see you in Nets.
show him what's up. All right, and then I think we have a few more here. We got Ultimate Deck Goku Black. This deck, everybody kind of tells me that, whoa, this is cracked, this is so good, and then it never does anything. I've heard a lot of hype about it. The one thing that stands out to me is this Sealing in a Jar card is kind of unique, a card I've never really seen before. It's a counterplay. It says if your leader is a blue Goku Black card, choose up to one of your mono blue Zamasu battle cards with an indestructible skill, then place this activated card on top of that card. And then it has an activate main where you can get, or an activate battle main, where you can dump this card, draw 2, pitch 1. So to me, this reads as like you're Mafuba-ing your own card in order to avoid red netting it off the board, basically. So that's basically the problem with all of these indestructible decks, is that red just tears through indestructible. And a lot of cards have been printed to this point that hit indestructible. So if now, for one, in theory, you can save your Mono Blue Zamasu battle card. So do we think that's a cool design, or do we think this does anything? Does this bring this deck up a level, or what do you guys think?
I think it's neat. I think the thing with this deck is that, and I know Raymond loves this deck. You know, he always tried to make.
Can we phone a friend?
But right. But I think the point of this deck is that you needed your Zamasu deck on the board, right? That was the bigger weakness of the deck, was getting to be able to evolve up the chain, or go to, I guess, in theory, go up to a bigger Zamasu, more of a fused Zamasu. And the Sealing in a Jar does help. The only thing that can interact with that and slow that down. Granted, we have Zamasu counter now as a TP, but who's to say this wasn't designed first, right? And Zamasu counter could be interacted with. Sealing in a Jar cannot be. So I can see that it can help the deck's strategy of trying to keep that body on the board, to keep going up, to try to go up a chain, or if you have to bridge a turn with that body before you can kind of invest that energy. So people love this deck. I know a lot of people really like the Goku Black. When it first came out, the expert deck, people really were talking about how good it was. And I'm sure someone's going to tell us, oh my God, this is exactly what the deck needed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love this card, and I am so happy we got it. The deck's broken now because they can't interrupt my chain. And maybe that was really what it is, right? Imagine playing a 20k and getting friends, or defending a seeming demon god, you know? So it's one of those type of situations. And the 5-drop is cool, right? Draw 2 cards, yes,
Easy energy.
right? Free Z, which is blue's biggest weakness. And this deck is really Z energy reliant. So really, if you say, did this solve a problem? It's just kind of probably the question we should have been asking. So a lot of these decks, technically yes, but is it enough?
Yeah, and it seems like these decks, Goku Black kind of reminds me of Pan, where these decks have like a cult following. Most people that like Goku Black and Zamasu seem to be like, that's their thing. They like Goku Black and Zamasu. So
Couldn't think of a single person.
Raymond loves me.
Well, hopefully Dane gets back on the content creation machine and gets us a
yeah,
deck profile.
Dane, Goku Black, yeah, surely.
Yeah, he's always got good takes on these decks. So,
Yeah, shout out to my neighbor Dane.
Dane's a red yellow player, guys. You heard it here first. Spoiler alert. Sorry,
yeah,
Dane.
go check out his channel, check out his Twitch, and hopefully he'll
Just
put
follow
out some
dog.
content and do our homework for us here. So,
Yeah.
I think, all right, the last set of support here is the yellow Gohan youth stuff. I still don't know if these cards go for the set 24 leader or the set 15 Forest Fire flip leader. that was cool.
Probably
for like
not
5 minutes?
15, but
Probably not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. There's about 4 drop, 8 Gohan youth cards. One of them is actually cool. One of them costs 2. That one's cool. I forgot what set it was from, but I did. But again, I don't think it matters. I don't know what it's for, and how can we talk about something if we don't even know what leader it's for to say it will help the leader? And honestly, I don't even think it's that impactful of a card. To be honest with you, we got
the
2
monkey's
cards.
cool. Yeah.
The monkey's cool, right? It's cool adjacent for
Free
sure.
barrier blocker if you guys not removed. That's
Right.
all right.
So, I discard your Xeno during the turn. The next time you activate EX Evolve skill on a grade 8 Sun Gohan card from your hand. I think the 8-Ku, the reboot leader. I don't know. I don't even think. I think they're all Gokus. So yeah, it just I don't know how to. Yeah, maybe it is for the field one. Maybe it's for this other one. I don't
Yeah, the
think it
only time
matters
I ever
either
saw
way.
the field deck in action is back when they still streamed Masters, and they had I think round one
Yep,
of Nats
I
that
remember.
season was
Yep,
I think Palladino
yep.
played against it, and people were like, "Whoa, this deck is neat!" And then he figured it out and obliterated that guy. Shout out to him for playing that deck. Good. I mean, you tried, but
It seems like
this,
What's his YouTube channel so we can defer everyone to him?
I don't know. Yeah,
It's weird because it looks like it's 2 different. Like you need the 1-drop to EX 4-drop monkey, and then you also need to have this card in your hand to do the counterplay. It just seems like you're just convoluting a situation that probably is unnecessary. So
And this Sun Gohan
Yeah.
deck from set 24, nobody's played. Have you seen anybody? This is like a $3 SLR. Has anybody even attempted this?
Oh man,
I don't know.
sounds like I'm being called.
Yes, if you haven't played it, I know it's not good because this is right up your alley. And if you don't have this sleeved up right now, there's no
I'm sure
chance.
someone else on our team might know,
No,
but you
no
know,
chance.
that's
There's no Masters player that exists. Right
every
now.
deck
Comment
is
below
meta.
if you have this
Every-
deck sleeved up. There's no chance.
Player diff, sir. Player diff. I'm gonna tell you. But
Hey,
Page
maybe it's
review.
good. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not.
again, see you in Nats. Prove me wrong, please.
So-
I would love to see it. So,
Give him another top 16 loss.
whew, too soon.
Oh.
How was your top 16 loss?
Oh.
Oh, wait, you didn't play. Right. My bad. Don't
I
go there.
lost $500 on a flight. Does that count? And then couldn't go. All right. That
She
hurt my
lost.
feelings.
Yeah.
I lost twice. So
It's a $10 SLR. Okay.
10.
$8 SLR.
Yeah, $10.
Buy, yo,
Alright.
if we're right and it is this leader, buy now. I'm not, but go ahead, buy now. Here's your chance.
Do not
So-
take any financial advice from this channel. We are not a
Do not.
whatever
Yes.
the disclaimer is there that they say on CNBC. All right. So do you guys have any final thoughts here before we wrap up? It's been almost an hour and 20 minutes. Anything you want to
Yeah.
leave the fans with?
If you're still here, love you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. If anyone is watching this far, we appreciate you guys rocking with us for as long as you have. I think the anniversary box, if I could get my quick, I think it is interesting. It's not for everybody, but I think there's a little bit in there for somebody. I'm sure some people are ecstatic and I really love this deck or I love this. Excited to play it now. And for the legacy people, the people who used to play the game, might get some back. And I think some of the newer players who kind of missed that wave of some of these leaders, now they have a chance and an opportunity to kind of see them for what they are instead of them sitting in the bulk box and never even knowing they existed. I think if we can be honest with ourselves, everything in here looks potential to make said deck better. It's just about how much better at the end of the day, right? So that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, I think you're going out and buying 2 of these, right? If you play Masters, there's no reason not to pick them up. If your locals is getting them, you're probably
You get the
going to pick them up.
reprints. I've never been a fan of anniversary boxes before. Not really, but like even looking at this one, you got some really cool reprints, really needed reprints, and you got pretty leaders. You get the sleeves, and you just kind of have to buy more than 2 if you really want the play sets.
Shout out to Bandai too, because like it's for the fans. This is surveyed. This is like all for us. I mean,
People say
this is-
Bandai doesn't listen, and here you go.
This is a beautiful thing that they can
Right.
do once a year, just to give us some old stuff that we like, make us
Right.
happy again.
Even though we say the game may or may not be dying or dead, or we're holding it on by a piece of string and our hopes and dreams, but they're still catering to the community, you know. So they're giving us things and they're listening. You know, just because they don't say yes to everything doesn't mean they're not acknowledging or hearing what we're talking about. And again, those surveys matter clearly because every one of these are on the survey. So
Yeah, when Damien
Except for
puts
the
those
baby.
out, when Damien puts out a video on the Lookout DBS, I'm sure if you're watching this, you've seen Damien's work. So if you have the time, fill those out. They do listen. It seems like they take that feedback. He's been posting on the discussion group, the different leaders, you know, which ones have gotten support, and the majority of the ones that people have asked for, except for Dark Broly, have gotten support.
Really,
So
I didn't get Planet Tuffle either. I asked for a baby
Yeah.
Tuffle.
Okay, we're all a little salty, but we're all pretty happy. Got it.
We're all pretty happy adjacent for sure. I will say, goes if anyone is still watching, though, we do have more coming. We are going to have a few team members break down each deck and really the application of those cards. So if you are there's a deck you wanted more information on. If it's not one of us, it's going to be definitely someone on the team who can, and we'll guys get you that really in-depth kind of applicability of these newer cards as well. So
yeah, don't hold your breath for the U6 Tefla profiles. They're probably not.
I'm sorry,
But
guy.
we'll have Gogeta Zeno. We'll have Red U7. We'll have probably the
Surge.
first 5 or 6 decks that we talked about
sure.
today, and then
We'll
some cult
hit
favorites.
as well. Yeah. So
So
stay
all
tuned,
right.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Hit subscribe if you haven't. I think 70% of our viewers are not subscribed. So if you could hit the subscribe button, that would help. And we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, guys.
Bye.